I always believed that love, once ignited, would burn eternal. Foolish maybe. Naive, definitely. But when Clara said she'd marry me, standing barefoot beneath a rain-soaked gazebo in Tuscany, I thought I'd won the universe. That was 7 years ago. Now I sit at our kitchen table, stirring cold coffee, watching shadows curl around empty picture frames. Her laughter used to fill this room. Now it's silence that echoes. The kind of silence that screams. Her perfume still lingers in the hallway, a soft, floral trace that no longer belongs to me. It began subtly. First, her gaze drifted away during dinner. Then her fingers stopped reaching for mine. Her phone, once left carelessly on counters, now guarded like a vault. She started showering at odd times, returning late with cheap excuses, traffic, drinks with Lena, long day at work. But Lena had moved to Singapore 2 months ago. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I began noticing. Really noticing. The lipstick shade left on a wine glass didn't match any she owned. Red, bold, brazen. Clara wore nude tones. Her smiles became rehearsed. Hugs robotic. Her phone buzzed with strange names. Luna, driver. One night, around 3 a.m., I woke up to an empty bed. The soft click of our back door closing pulled me from sleep. I waited. 27 minutes later, she returned. I didn't say a word. Just watched her peel off her heels in the dark and slip into bed beside me, smelling like rain, smoke, and someone else's cologne. She didn't notice my eyes were open. I still loved her. God help me. Every morning, I kissed her goodbye as she rushed out the door, leaving the scent of betrayal lingering behind. But my heart hadn't caught up to my instincts. I told myself stories. Maybe she was just distant. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe the fault was mine. I started drinking again. Only at night. Only enough to sleep. Then, last Friday, something shifted. She wore a black silk dress she'd never shown me before. It clung to her curves like a second skin. Her lips were crimson. Not pink. Her eyes gleamed with secrets. Going out? I asked casually. Girls' night, she answered, avoiding my gaze. Lena's back in town. I nodded. But I knew. Because Lena had posted photos from a rooftop brunch in Singapore. A timestamp. A geotag. I watched her leave, then counted to 60. Grabbed my jacket. Slipped outside. Followed her. I didn't know what I expected. A group of women laughing over wine? Clara alone at a bar, contemplating divorce? Instead, I saw her at the corner of 9th and Belmont, slipping into the passenger seat of a sleek black car. Driven by a man. Tall. Sharp-suited. Confident. I stayed far enough behind to not be noticed, but close enough to keep them in sight. He took her to the Eden Lounge, a place I could never afford, where the chandeliers cost more than our mortgage. I watched from a shadowed alley across the street. They sat close. Hands touched. Her laugh, real this time, spilled into the night like it belonged to another woman. She didn't look tired. Didn't seem distant. She looked alive. The man leaned in. Whispered something. She giggled, brushed a hand against his chest. Then they kissed. Not a timid peck. Not the kind of kiss you give to someone you're unsure about. No, this was hungry. Familiar. Practiced. My stomach twisted. I felt the air leave my lungs. But I couldn't stop watching. He took her hand. They exited the restaurant. Walked hand in hand like a couple in love. I followed, unnoticed, heart thudding like war drums in my chest. They checked into a hotel 3 blocks away. The way she leaned into him, that was the Clara I remembered. The Clara who used to cling to me after movie nights, who once whispered poetry into my ear in the dark. Now she gave all that to him. I stood outside the hotel, under flickering neon lights, paralyzed. I wanted to scream, punch something, burn the world down. But I didn't. I went home instead. Our home. The one I built for her. Every nail, every coat of paint, every garden stone, chosen with her in mind. I walked through each room, remembering. Our first Christmas. Her teary laughter when I proposed in the kitchen. The dent in the wall from when we danced too wildly to Elton John. Memories wrapped themselves around me like vines, pulling me under. I poured a drink, sat in silence. Then I stood up and began setting the table. 2 candles, her favorite wine, soft music. I wasn't sure what I was doing, but I knew one thing. This night wasn't going to end like the others. It was nearly 4 a.m. when she walked through the door. Heels in hand, hair disheveled, lipstick smudged. I was sitting on the couch, lights dimmed. The air was thick. She froze when she saw me. "Oh," she said. "Just that." "You're home late," I said calmly. She hesitated. We lost track of time. "You know how it is with Lena." I nodded slowly. "Did she say hi?" "What?" "Lena. Did she say hi to me?" She blinked. Yeah." She asked how you were. I smiled. "That's sweet. I miss her." Clara walked to the kitchen, opened the fridge. I could see her reflection in the microwave's black glass. Her hands trembled. "You hungry?" I asked. "No," she murmured. "Tired." I stood up. "I made dinner." She turned. "Now." "Felt inspired," I said, gesturing to the table. "Your favorite seared salmon. Truffle mash. Asparagus." Her eyes flicked to the meal. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to." I pulled out a chair for her. She didn't move. "I'm really tired, Adrian. Can we do this tomorrow?" I didn't respond. Just kept smiling. Something about my expression made her step back. "What's going on?" I tilted my head. "Just dinner. Between husband and wife." She stared at me. I could feel the tension pulse between us like electricity. Then she sat. Picked up the fork with fingers that barely gripped. I watched her. She didn't eat. "Did you have a good time tonight?" I asked. She nodded vaguely. "It was fine." "Where'd you go?" "Just a bar. Nothing fancy." I leaned forward. "Not Eden Lounge?" Her face went pale. My smile faded. "Who's he?" She blinked. "What?" "Don't lie, Clara. I saw you. I followed you." Her fork dropped. It clattered like thunder. I stood. Calm. Controlled. "I know everything. Every night. Every kiss. Every lie." She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. "I saw you with him," I whispered. "I saw you become someone else. And I just kept wondering, what happened to us?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "Adrian, I raised a hand. Don't. Not tonight. I don't want apologies. I don't want explanations. I want you to know, I've stopped wondering what I did wrong." She looked confused. "What?" "I've been blaming myself. For months. Thinking I failed you somehow. That I stopped being enough." I stepped closer. "But I realize now, Clara, you were gone long before he ever showed up." Her lower lip trembled. I took a deep breath. "There's one more thing," I said. She looked up, eyes wide, tears streaming. "You'll want to look your best tomorrow night," I said gently. "Why?" she whispered. I leaned down, whispered in her ear. "Because I invited your lover to dinner." The air between us was heavier than grief. Clara sat frozen, hands clutching the edge of her chair like she might fall off the earth if she let go. Her lips parted, but no words came out. I watched her try to breathe, as if oxygen had suddenly become expensive. "You're lying," she whispered. "I'm not," I replied, my voice cold, steady. "Tomorrow. 8 p.m. Right here." Her eyes flicked around the room, maybe looking for proof, maybe looking for a way out. But there wasn't one. Not this time. She stood, unsteady, her glassy eyes searching mine. "Why are you doing this?" I didn't answer. I simply turned and walked upstairs, leaving her with the meal she hadn't touched and the guilt she hadn't confessed. Sleep was impossible. My mind spun like a machine stuck in high gear. Images replayed. Her hand sliding up his thigh, their lips locked, the laugh she gave him, the laugh I hadn't heard in months. But something inside me had cracked and then reformed. I wasn't the same man anymore. A deeper clarity had settled over me. I no longer wanted answers. I wanted her to see what she'd destroyed. The next morning, Clara moved around the house like a ghost. She avoided my eyes. Didn't speak unless she had to. Her usual pretense, the artificial smiles, the scripted lines, were gone. Now it was just tension and silence. I made breakfast. She didn't eat. I played music. She turned it off. She didn't ask about the night before. She didn't ask about the dinner. I wondered if she was hoping it had all been some twisted nightmare. But by late afternoon she changed. First, her demeanor. Then her clothes. She spent hours in the bathroom, hair curling, iron clicking, makeup brushes sweeping across her face, perfume clouding the air. She wore a velvet emerald dress I hadn't seen in years. She looked stunning, but empty. It was the outfit of someone trying too hard. 7:58 p.m. She sat on the couch, rigid as a mannequin. I set the table again. 2 places. Then a third. She glanced at the door every few seconds. I said nothing. I poured wine. Lit candles. 8:04 p.m. A knock. Clara flinched so hard the wineglass in her hand tilted, a drop splashing on her dress. I stood. She didn't move. So I walked over, opened the door. And there he was. Damien. Tall, polished, more handsome up close than I'd expected. A designer watch hugged his wrist. His jaw was freshly shaven, his cologne musky and foreign. But the look in his eyes was not what I anticipated. He didn't look like a predator. He looked confused, curious. And then his eyes landed on Clara. "Clara?" he asked, stunned. She stood, stunned. "Damien, what are you doing here?" He turned to me, then back to her. "You said your ex lived here. That you were staying temporarily. What the hell is going on?" So that was the story. I wasn't her husband. I was her ex. Her landlord. Maybe a lingering roommate. The man in the background. My jaw clenched. Clara stammered, "Damien, I can explain." He held up a hand. "Explain what, Clara? That you've been lying to me since the first kiss?" I poured him a glass of wine. "Please," I said, gesturing to the table. "Stay. You deserve to hear the full show." Damien hesitated. Then, slowly sat. His eyes didn't leave Clara's face. She remained standing. Pale. Lost. "I'm Adrian," I said. "Husband. Still legally binding. At least until the paperwork says otherwise." Silence fell. Clara looked like a porcelain doll about to crack. "Start talking," Damien said, voice flat. "All of it." She sank into the chair like her bones gave out. "I never meant for this to happen." Damien scoffed. "You never meant to fall into my bed repeatedly while still married?" "I thought we were done," she snapped. "I thought, Adrian and I, we were distant, cold, barely speaking. I thought I had already left in every way that mattered." My heart hardened. She had rehearsed that line. I leaned in. "But your name's still on the mortgage, Clara. You sleep in our bed. You eat my food. You use my name at brunch with your mother." Her mouth opened, closed. She had no defense. "I never wanted to hurt anyone," she said weakly. "That's the problem," Damien replied, his voice bitter. "You never want to hurt anyone. But you do." Clara turned to me. "Why bring him here? What is this? Some twisted punishment?" I sipped my wine. "You know what hurts more than betrayal?" She didn't answer. Being erased. I stood. Walked to the bookshelf. Picked up a framed photo, our wedding. Her eyes sparkled. I looked drunk on joy. I set it on the table. "You gave him what you used to give me." The laugh. The smiles. The passion. "I watched you fall in love with someone else, and all I could think was, did she ever love me like that? Or was I just convenient?" Damien looked away. Clara finally broke. Tears streamed down her face. "You were everything, Adrian. I swear you were. But I lost myself. Somewhere between the routines, the bills, the endless days where we barely touched, I just faded." She turned to Damien. "Then he came along. And I felt seen again. I felt alive. Damien stood. I was your drug, Clara. But I never wanted to be a lie. I thought he'd storm out. But instead, he walked to me. I'm sorry, he said simply. I didn't know. For a moment, something almost like respect passed between us. Good night, he muttered. And then he left. The door clicked softly behind him. Clara and I sat in silence. The clock ticked like a metronome of doom. I broke it. Did you love him? She stared at the flickering candle. I don't know. Did you love me? Her breath caught. Yes. I think I still do. You think? I don't know what's real anymore. I nodded. I do. She looked up, confused. I pulled a folder from beneath the table and slid it toward her. What's this? An invitation. To what? I leaned forward. Your reckoning. She opened it. Inside, printed emails, photograph, her text messages, phone records, the whole web, and at the back, a divorce agreement. Tears pooled again. You did all this. I'm not the same man you cheated on, I said. That man waited. That man forgave. That man drowned in wine and doubt. She looked up. I'm someone else now. She held the papers like they were fire. Is this it? Is this really how it ends? I exhaled. No. This is how it begins. She stayed up that night, pacing, reading, crying. I watched her from the guest room, door cracked just enough. She wasn't who I married, and I wasn't who she betrayed. But something still tethered us. Something raw, ugly, unfinished. In the silence, I asked myself, could I ever love her again? Or had the woman I loved died the night she kissed him? The following morning dawned with a strange stillness. No birdsong. No wind brushing the curtains. Just the low hum of regret spreading through the house like mold. I stood in the kitchen, pouring black coffee, watching Clara move through the living room as if she no longer belonged to the space. Her steps were careful, like she feared the floor would give out beneath her. She had barely spoken since last night. The folder of truths I had handed her, inked confessions, timestamps, snapshots, remained on the table, untouched but glaring. She hadn't signed the divorce papers, yet. Neither had I. Her face looked different in the sunlight. Paler. Hollowed. Like a woman slowly being erased. I couldn't tell if I pitied her, or myself. Morning, she finally whispered, wrapping a sweater around herself even though it was warm. Is it? I asked, not looking at her. She didn't respond. I watched her hands tremble as she reached for a coffee mug. The same hands that once slid down my back during midnight rainstorms in Florence. Now they avoided my skin like it might burn her. I didn't sleep, she said, voice cracked. Neither did I. She glanced at me. Are you going to say anything? I think I've said everything already. I mean about us. There is no us, Clara. There's what used to be, and what's left behind. Her shoulders sagged. She walked over to the table, picked up the folder, stared at it. The silence between us stretched like a pulled muscle, tight, painful, on the edge of snapping. You want me to sign it, she said. I didn't answer. I used to dream about our wedding, she whispered, flipping through pages. Not the one we had, but the one I imagined when I was 13. Lace dress. Mountains behind us. You reading vows you wrote yourself. You got that, I said. Well, most of it. I know. Her eyes watered. And I ruined it. There was no disagreement. I let her sit in the truth. Hours passed. We didn't speak. That night, I found her in the backyard, barefoot in the grass, wearing one of my old sweaters. She was staring at the stars like they might offer her absolution. Do you remember the comet? She asked as I approached. 2009, I said. You dragged me to the middle of nowhere just to see a streak of light for 2 seconds. She smiled faintly. You hated camping. But you didn't say a word. You just held me all night under a leaky tent. I didn't smile back. Why are you remembering all this now? I asked. Because I want to remember who I was before I became this. I sat beside her in the grass. You didn't become something, Clara. You chose it, piece by piece, lie by lie. She closed her eyes. I know. And I don't even know why anymore. Damien wasn't love. He was an escape. A distraction. A way to feel seen. Seen from what? From the emptiness I let grow between us. That hit differently. Because as much as I hated her for what she'd done, a part of me knew I had gone numb first. She just took it further. Still, betrayal is betrayal. No excuse can disinfect it. The next day, I invited Lena over. Clara looked at me like I'd grown horns. Why would you do that? I figured she deserved the truth too, I said flatly. You've been using her name for months. Let's let her see how she's been starring in your alibis. Lena arrived in a green coat and boots splashed with mud. She looked surprised to see Clara open the door. I thought you were in Singapore, Clara said. I came back last week. Got your text. Was shocked you wanted to meet. I didn't, Clara glanced at me. Then back at her friend. Lena looked between us. What's going on? I stepped forward. Your friend's been using you as a shield. Claiming you were out clubbing, having wine nights, booking spa getaways. Lena's eyebrows shot up. You were using me to cover for what exactly? Clara folded. It's not what you think. Isn't it? I asked. Because I think it's exactly what it looks like. A web of lies. Lena stepped back. I thought we were sisters. Clara reached for her. I didn't know how else to hide it. You could have stopped, Lena snapped. You could have been honest. You could have respected what you had. With that, Lena turned and walked out. No dramatic exit. Just disappointment, clean and silent. Clara didn't cry. She just stood there like someone had kicked the floor out from under her. I didn't think this would all come down like this, she said quietly. No one does, I replied. That night, we shared the house like strangers. I took the guest bed. She stayed in ours. I could hear her pacing above me, walking circles through memories. At 3:18 a.m., I heard a soft knock on my door. I didn't answer. She opened it anyway. Her eyes were red. Can I sit? I said nothing. She sat at the foot of the bed. Her voice was hoarse. I keep going over it in my head. The moment it started. The first lie. The first text. I want to rewind time, but it doesn't work like that. No, it doesn't. I don't deserve forgiveness. I know that. I looked at her. She wore my hoodie. Her legs were bare. Her skin shimmered under the moonlight slipping through the blinds. I hate that I still love you, she whispered. I hate that even after everything, I still look for your approval when I speak. I swallowed hard. My hands clenched the sheets. I don't know how to make it right, she continued. I don't know how to be the woman I was before. She's gone, Clara, I said softly. Just like the man you married. Tears rolled silently down her cheeks. She reached out, placed her hand over mine. I let her, because for all the fury, all the shame, all the wreckage, part of me still longed for what we were. Not what we became. I don't want this to be the end, she whispered. I already gave you the end, I said. Her lip quivered. Then why haven't you signed it? That was the question. Why hadn't I? I stared at that folder the next morning for over an hour. The pen sat beside it like a guillotine. All it took was one signature. One name. And everything would be severed. But something in me hesitated. Not because I didn't know what she did. Not because I thought we could go back. But because endings should be honest. And this one didn't feel done. So I did something unexpected. I booked us therapy. Couples counseling. Clara blinked at the email confirmation I printed out and slid across the table. What is this? An invitation, I said again. To what? To the truth. The counselor's office smelled like lavender and paperwork. Soft lighting. Cream couches. Tissue boxes in every corner like someone had predicted heartbreak before we arrived. Clara and I sat side by side, but miles apart. Across from us, Dr. Hannah Wells adjusted her glasses and said nothing at first. Just watched us. Me with my hands folded. Her with knees bouncing like ticking time. "You've been married for 8 years, Dr. Wells finally said. "Why are you here now?" I didn't speak. Clara took a breath. "Because I shattered us." A beat passed. I waited for her to shift blame, to mention our distance, my long work hours, the lack of passion, but she didn't. "I cheated," she said directly. "More than once." I lied. "I used people. I forgot who I was." Dr. Wells nodded. "And you?" she asked me. "I stopped seeing her," I said. "Way before she left me physically." "In what way?" I looked at Clara. "She became wallpaper. Not because she faded, because I stopped paying attention." Clara's eyes glistened. "But I didn't cheat," I added sharply. "I didn't lie. I didn't use anyone as a shield. So don't confuse absence with betrayal." Dr. Wells didn't flinch. "What do you want from each other now?" I opened my mouth. Clara spoke first. "Redemption." I blinked. "I don't expect forgiveness," she continued. "But I want to earn something again. Even if it's just being seen." I exhaled. "I want closure." "Does closure mean goodbye?" the counselor asked. Silence. "I don't know," I said honestly. Therapy lasted 6 weeks. Once a week, every Thursday at 7 p.m. A ritual. A fragile bridge we built, plank by plank. There were tears. Yelling. Long silences. Childhood trauma unraveling. Days where I walked out before it ended. Nights where she begged me to stay in the same room. But then, something shifted. One night, she brought a photo album. One I hadn't seen in years. Inside were pictures of us from Greece, Morocco, Tulum. Sand in our hair. Wine on our lips. Smiles that hadn't been fake. "I forgot how good we were," she said quietly. "I didn't," I replied. "I just buried it." She placed her hand on the album. "Could we ever be that again?" I looked at her. Not the woman who betrayed me. The woman who was learning how to apologize. How to own it. And the man I used to be, the one who didn't see her fading, he had to own his part too. "We can't be who we were," I said. Her lips trembled. "But we might become something new." 2 months later, the papers still sat unsigned. Not because I was stalling. Because we both needed to know why we'd stayed this long. And then came the twist. The unimaginable surprise I never thought I'd face. It was a Wednesday when I found it. A tiny white stick, resting on the bathroom sink like a loaded weapon. 2 pink lines. Positive. My stomach turned to stone. I waited. She walked in, saw me holding it. Her mouth opened, then closed. Her eyes filled. "I was going to tell you." "When?" "After therapy. After I was sure you wouldn't leave." I didn't shout. I didn't throw it. I just sat down. And cried. Because this wasn't just about a marriage anymore. This was about a future. One we hadn't planned. One tangled in betrayal, truth, healing, and now life. 4 days I couldn't speak to her. I took long walks. Slept on the couch again. Talked to no one. Because how do you raise a child with someone who shattered you? How do you trust the woman who once slipped out the door in heels and perfume meant for another man? But then I saw her. In the nursery. Painting. Alone. Humming a lullaby. And it hit me. The way storms sometimes roll in silently, without thunder. This child wasn't a punishment. It was a turning point. That night I sat beside her. She froze when I entered the room, unsure if I'd come to fight or flee. Instead, I reached for her hand. "I don't know what we'll become," I said softly. "But I know what we were. And what we could be." She didn't speak. "I can't promise I'll ever forget. But I'll try to forgive, not for you. For this child. For us. For the version of us that still has something worth saving." She cried harder than I'd ever seen. And I held her. Not because she deserved it. Because we needed it. We renewed our vows 8 months later. Not at a church. Not in front of family. Just us. In the backyard. Same place I watched her crumble after Damien left. Same grass she walked barefoot in while admitting her mistake. She wore no makeup. I wore no tie. Just honesty between us. I broke you, she whispered, eyes locked to mine. But I want to spend the rest of my life earning your trust again. I nodded. And I'll spend mine learning how to love you, not the woman I remember, but the one you're becoming. She smiled. And for the first time in a long, long time, it was real. Our daughter was born on a rainy Sunday. We named her Hope, because that's what she gave us. Not perfection, not erasure of the past, but the courage to begin again. Together,